Oh, hello again. I was just reading a story from the UK. Some genius was arrested for stealing Pokemon cards. You know, it's hard to believe that an adult would steal cards from a kid's game, but some of these cards are worth an insane amount of money. Of course, Pokemon has been around for so long that a lot of adults were kids when it became popular. Next year, the franchise will turn 30 years old. I actually missed the Pokemon craze. I was already in high school when it became such a global phenomenon, but I do remember my younger brother being really into it. You know, typically, if an anime or manga become really popular, they branch out into other forms of media, like video games. But ironically, in Pokemon's case, the series began as a video game, and due to its massive popularity, it spawned an anime, manga, and even a trading card game. Created by Satoshi Tajiri, Pokemon is actually an abbreviation of the phrase Pocket Monsters, which was the original title in Japan. As I mentioned before, the franchise began as a duo of video games for Nintendo's Game Boy in 1996. At that time, the Game Boy had already been around for over 7 years, so many of them had already been sold. That meant that the user base was already quite large, and the hardware and the games had become relatively cheap over time. In Japan, the games were released as Pokemon Red and Green, while internationally as Pokemon Red and Blue. Now, in the game, players would encounter wild Pokemon monsters, defeat them with their own team of monsters, and then capture them. Well, this way, players would build up their roster of Pokemon over time. And the series tagline, "Gotta catch 'em all," encouraged players to capture all 151 Pokemon across both of the games. Acquiring some of the more difficult monsters meant trading between the two games, which required players to buy both games. Well, this was a smart business strategy because it forced players, or at least their parents, to buy not one, but two games. And in keeping with this model, new games over the years would introduce more and more Pokemon. In fact, at this point, there are more than 1,000 Pokemon monsters. But as you know, the franchise doesn't just make video games. The success of Red and Green led to an animated TV series in 1997, just a year after the original games. In fact, it's still going today, with more than 1,300 episodes airing in, I think it's 192 countries. Well, there are only 195 countries in the world, so it's safe to say that Pokemon has reached nearly the entire population of the planet. And as successful as the anime has been, the trading card game has been even bigger. Released in 1996, just a few months after the games, the card game is based on Magic the Gathering. It's a simplified version of Magic the Gathering, which is another popular trading card game. Now, there are tournaments held all over the world, locally, nationally, and even internationally. And sometimes big money is up for grabs at these tournaments. Moreover, the cards themselves can be worth an astonishing amount of money. As a few years ago, one was sold for more than $5 million US. And that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed learning a little about the history of the Pokemon franchise. And if you did, please remember to click like and share. See you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.